Morning, Sarah. Testing. That's not good. Video. Yeah, this is good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Hi, Sarah and Natalie.
Hello, hello.
Should we test in case, or would you pass the slide? What do you prefer?
I think it's easier
Easier.
if we do it, no?
Yeah. Okay.
That way we are not changing the screens and so on. Yeah.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody, colleagues from member states. Maybe we still wait 1 minute or so because we are expecting a couple of additional participants, and then we can kick off. Okay, well, perhaps we can start at this point. I hope you can hear me clearly. And let me start by saying good afternoon and thank you for joining this short seminar on Connecting Europe Facility cross-border renewable energy projects. So we are from CINEA team dealing with the CEF Energy program. My name is Beatrice Coda, I'm the head of unit. I'm here with my colleagues Gianluca Ferreri, the head of sector, Teresa Koenig, our project advisor, and Gianmarco Gioffre, our trainee. To, let's say, go through a little bit of program that we have put together for you. But let me start perhaps also by welcoming you and by explaining you also why we have set up, organized, and invited you to this short seminar. Well, actually, I can reply to this question by saying that, you know, very well and better than me, that as a member state, you play a key role in the Connecting Europe facility, not only for the, let's say, the policy steering that you provide, but also, let's say, you have a practical role in the implementation of the projects financed by Connecting Europe facility. And for implementation, I also mean really the start of a project, the selection of the projects, in a sense that, you know, we want the best projects and to be retained, and we want also as much as possible to disseminate this, to make, let's say, the stakeholders community aware of this instrument. CBRS is a very new instrument, is a new sector in Connecting Europe facility. It's also a bottom-up, let's say, sector for some reasons. So we believe that it's very important that stakeholders know about that. And we believe that by providing specific information and detailed information to you on your role as, let's say, also member state, let's say, representative and support, you can also help us to disseminate further the CBRS program in your, let's say, between your stakeholders. And we will touch upon that in detail on, let's say, during the presentations that we have prepared for you. We believe that also you have a support in facilitating the exchanges between possibly the applicant and the competent authority, because maybe you are already from competent authority. And we have received in the past questions from applicants that really this question on the, you know, the member state support and the cooperation agreement, and we will touch upon that, is a key element in CBRS. And they, in some instances, many applicants, they need, let's say, to be supported on that from the national level. So all in all, let's say this consideration, let's say, made us believe that it could be of added value to provide some, you know, some specific information to you, and also to explain what will be really a bit more in general, the requirements of a contact point, if I can call it requirements, and of the member states, in particular for what concerns CBRS and the role really that this cooperation agreement plays. So I hope that you agree with, let's say, what we are proposing to you this afternoon. We like to explain you first, let's say, a little bit general introduction about CEF Energy, and then we go a bit in detail really on what are the instruments, how CEF Energy, CBRS, cross-border CEF Energy works. So specifically on what we call the status process. It's a process that it's necessary to get the label of project on CBRS, which is necessary to apply for the grant application for works and studies. So we'll explain you in detail the process of the status call, of the works and studies call, and in particular, let's say, what role you can play in the different processes. We have foreseen a question and answer session after, let's say, these presentations. I think you can, let's say, also start to put them in the chat. So if you agree, we will take them after the presentations, but feel free, let's say, to already to put them in the chat and make them available for everybody. Some of them, they might be replied, let's say, in the chat already. So I hope it is agreeable to you. And having said that, I'd like to start myself by providing you some preliminary, let's say, and general information about the Connecting Europe facility. You can have the, yes, important information recording. We go to the next one. So, well, just let's say a brief reminder that Connecting Europe facility is a program that started in 2014, and in the current MFF, it has been, renewed with still, let's say, a focus on the three traditional sector for trans-European projects, let's say, and networks. So in energy, in digital, and in transport. And in the energy sector in particular, while, let's say, the classical scope has been what we call the TENI projects, or the so-called projects of common interest in energy networks and infrastructure. From 2021, we have a new projects category, which we call cross-border renewable projects, or cross-border projects in the field of renewable energy. And out of the 5.84 billion euro for the CEF Energy program until 2027, the money which is earmarked, or the budget which is earmarked for CBRS, it's up to 850 million euro. Where do we stand with the implementation of, let's say, the cross-border renewable energy sector and overall, let's say, of CEF Energy? Since the start of the new MFF, so since 2021, we have allocated still, let's say, a big bulk of the money went to the PCI sector, so around 1.66 billion, and only so far 23 million have been allocated to CBRS projects. This is because the sector is very new. It's not, of course, we don't have a mature pipeline of projects like we have, of course, in the TENI sectors, where projects have been developing already since many, many years. However, we are in 2023. We are, let's say, still not even in the middle of the MFF, and we still plan to invest overall by 2027 still around 4 billion euro. We have two calls ongoing in CEF Energy, one on PCI and one, and my colleagues will touch upon that, refers to studies and works on cross-border renewable, which we opened a few days ago for 50 million euros. So it's a call that is ongoing. And we plan to launch at least one call per year in CBRS for grants for studies and works until 2027. So one in 24, 25, 26, and 27, preceded by so a call really for allocation, let's say, of the CEF grants, which will be also preceded every year by a call for status. So it's the call for what we call an expression of interest for, let's say, to have the label in order to be eligible for studies and works later on. So there will be at least two calls per year from still, let's say, until the end of 2027, one without CEF money, but necessary to, let's say, be eligible for the CEF money, and the second one really dedicated to CEF money. So there is still, let's say, a lot of, let's say, budgetary cycles and implementation work in the sector. And also our aim as CINEA, as implementing agency of the CEF Energy program, we intend to work further on the dissemination and on also making our role, let's say, to make this project pipeline expand. The next slide. So far, we have what we record concerning this status that I just mentioned. So far, we have had 2 calls for status, one this year and one which was closed this year and one which was closed the previous year. And we have 5 projects that have received the status, and we wanted just to, make this short information available to you, just to understand also what type of projects, are the cross-border renewable energy projects. So we have 5 projects. 2 refers to specifically to a wind park. One, it's an onshore cross-border wind park between Estonia and Latvia, ULP-RES-WP. And there is also an offshore wind park with radial connection in Estonia with support, financial support from Luxembourg. We have also another hybrid offshore project in the Baltic Sea, which is called L-Wind, another one between Latvia and Estonia. So we see a lot of, there is a lot of, already take up from the Baltic region of the cross-border renewable energy projects. But just to show you also the diversity of the technologies and the type of projects, we have a project that have received the status is a project between 2 twin cities, 2 confining cities in Germany and Poland, Görlitz, Zgorzelec, and they refer to joint, implementation of a cross-border zero carbon district heating. And the last project that I want to mention here is called Cicerone. And it's a very, vast program. It's really cross-border European green hydrogen value chain, as it refers to generation from renewable electricity in the south of Europe, so in Spain and Italy, a conversion of renewable electricity to hydrogen and then to ammonia, and shipping, this ammonia to the Netherlands for use in the Netherlands and in Germany as hydrogen again. So it's a very complex, project and a very complex value chain. And we hope that, we will go through the status call in a moment, and we hope to receive, of course, more applications in similar, sectors or others. The program is open really to all renewable energy technologies, but this was just really to give you an idea what type of projects have been developed so far and have received the status. And my last slide refers to a bit the objectives of the cross-border renewable energy program. It is just, to recall that overall, the main objectives of this sector is really to promote the cooperation between member states, and in some specific cases also between member states and their countries, based on the mechanisms in the RED II. We don't have our colleagues from DG Energy together with us today. They will join a little bit later, but they will explain to us that we have a renewed, importance of the cooperation in effective deployment of renewable energy generation in Europe, also with the RED III, by promoting a mandatory framework of cooperation between member states. So this makes the CEF Energy window, of CBRS very, very actual and very important as another tool, to support the cross-border cooperation, but ultimately, of course, to promote the development and the cost-effective exploitation for renewables, and therefore, aim to support the contribution to the EU target achievement, which is now very much increased following the adoption of the RED III up to 42.5%. So lastly, this project also contributes to the EU long-term decarbonization strategy, and it's also very much welcome that this instrument of support of cooperation between member states might contribute to the strategic uptake of innovative renewable energy technology. So also a role of innovation here is also is very important in the context of the cross-border cooperation. So with this, I think I want to conclude my presentation. I don't know if there are any preliminary remarks by the audience, or think we can, let's say, also go otherwise to the other, let's say, sections of our seminar, where we really aim to give you, very detailed and, targeted information concerning really the program and the role that you can play, let's say. Thank you very much so far for your attention.
Thank you, Beatrice, for these opening elements, and that leads us indeed to the second and third part of the seminar, where first of all I will walk you through the third status call, which is currently open, and I will see the main elements of it, and then Teresa will explain you the studies and works call, which is also open, which is published and will be opened very soon as well, and with the main difference being that the studies and works call is open only to the 5 projects which are already in the list, whereas the status call is obviously open to any proposal willing to receive the CBRS status. So with that, we can look at the process in the next slide, where basically applicants need to apply for the CBRS status. There is a specific application for that, and with the series of important documents to submit, and we will look at it at the details later in the later part of the presentation. Then once the projects are have applied and are evaluated and eventually selected, they will be included in a list of CBRS projects. This list, it's one list, which is amended and expanded call after call. So we have had already 2 calls. So a first list of 3 projects. Now we grew to 5 projects, and we hope to grow even further with the current open call third call for status. And then the projects that are selected in the call, they can eventually apply for works and studies at any subsequent CBRS works and study call that they wish, I mean, depending on the maturity stage of the project. So eligible project, it's really project about renewable energy generation, and there's no restriction on the renewable energy source among those that are listed in the Renewable Energy Directive. The sectors are, there's no restriction in sector either. It's mainly, so far we have electricity project, but not only. We have also a project on district heating, so among the 5 in the list. So there can be also project on transport as well. Other component can be part of the project, like storage, IT system, grid connection, but there are specific conditions that are clearly marked in the delegated CBRS delegated regulation, meaning that they have to be integral part of the project, effectively enable the integration of the renewable energy production, and are ancillary to this renewable energy production. So it's quite restricted, although the program allows so this component to be eventually part of the CBRS project in specific cases. There's no predefined capacity threshold, so there can be very big project and also much smaller who have rather a regional dimension, for example, or location or technology. So on that, it's really open, so to say, bottom up. So what are the type of project that can be eligible? You can see it can be individual project with physical cross-border, crossing the border physically, like for example, the case that was quoted by Beatrice between Görlitz and Scoselets, where we have a part of the project that is foreseen to be built on the German side and another part on the Polish side, and the two are connected or will be connected. Same you have the case for hybrid offshore projects, but it can be also projects that see a cooperation between two distant member states, like one of the case illustrated before on a radial connection, offshore radial connection, whereby the project is implemented in one country, but there is a cooperation agreement between this country and another distant country who can step in, for example, financially, and for example, get back renewable energy statistics. It can be also multiple projects, like in the case of joint support schemes, which are usually done in connection with statistical transfer. So far, we didn't have such cases, but they are also possible in the instrument. So in the next slide, you'll see a little bit more the eligible technologies. As I said, so renewable energy generation is the core, is the main aspect of a CBRS project. And any additional component that should be there to help this basically the achieving this renewable energy generation and the usage of, for example, related electricity generated from renewable energy. So it should be integral part, enable the integration to the grid, for example, and must be ancillary. So in a way, it's twofold. The meaning of ancillary projects. Well, this component should be necessary compared to so necessary for the renewable energy part, and in a way also constitute a small part of the project in terms of size, budget, and resources. Yeah, this having said that, there are mainly two big criteria of eligibility for CBRS status project. First of all, they must be based on a cooperation agreement or any other kind of arrangement. What do we mean any other kind of arrangement? Sometimes, and actually often so far, projects don't have yet a cooperation agreement when they apply for status. But in this case, we allow at least some flexibility so that the project must come at least with a declaration from the future member state, the member state entering into a future cooperation agreement to express their willingness to cooperate. So normally it is a declaration where the two parties, if there are two member states, express their willingness to enter into a cooperation agreement in the future in order to underpin the proposed project. This is the first and very important requirement, and on this the role, especially on this, the role of member state contact point, it's very important. And then the second aspect of eligibility is that project must produce a cost-benefit analysis, and they have to, this cost-benefit analysis should show cost savings or bigger benefits compared to a similar project that would take place without a cooperation. This is the so-called counterfactual project. So effective projects that would be similar in terms of technology or size, but that would be done only in one member state. And these overall benefits, so cost savings or benefits, would outweigh the cost. So the cost benefit analysis must be positive and must be higher than, in any case, than a counterfactual project. In specific cases, we could have a negative cost benefit analysis, so-called net present value, but in this case only if qualitative consideration around some of the cost benefit elements really outweigh the situation, can the project be eligible. But that's very borderline situation. So the typical case is that the net present value is actually positive, and it's more positive than a counterfactual project. In the next slide, I'll have a look. Let's have a look a little bit more on the proof of cooperation. So you will see at the end of the presentation there is a link also to the portal, to the call page, but basically there is no specific format. This is a typical questions that applicants often have. If there is a format of documents, so to say that they need to use for the declaration. This said, since call number 2, we have provided a template for that in case applicant wish to use it. It's not a mandatory template, but it can be used by applicant. But what is important is that the declaration from the member state has to be signed by the competent authority, and usually the competent authority it's at ministerial level. Now, in some cases, sub-national level, like land or regions, depending on the constitutional setup of a country, might have a competency in the domain of the renewable energy. And in case if this is the case, they can sign the declaration, and applicants should make reference to this competency, or at least demonstrate as clarify that they do have a competence. But the default option, the default situation is that the declaration is signed by the competent ministries. That's for the declaration. Now, what is the content expected in it? This is clarified as well in one of the reference document of the call, is the so-called Commission staff working document for the methodology of the cost-benefit analysis, and there is also a paragraph or a section on cooperation. These are the main elements that we would expect to see in the declaration. It's not always the case. We don't see it always, but ideally, these are the main aspect that we would like to see in such a declaration. So what is the objective of the cooperation? So basically, clearly stating the project at stake. What is the form of cooperation? Is it about a joint project? Is it a joint support scheme? For example, if you have already, if the applicant has already clear view of the capacity to be installed, expected capacity in terms of megawatt, for example, if you're talking about electricity, what is the eligible technologies, or what are the possible technology there, and selection procedure for cooperation projects, if there are if the project is already identified, then in case of joint project is normally an identified project, what is about, so the short description of the project. Then ideally we would like to see a high-level statement on renewable energy target accounting, because in the end one of the important goal of the cooperation it's to share the statistics on renewable energy. And by sharing statistics, it's also about sharing costs as well. So it would be good to have a first element on the cost sharing. What is the method? Whether it's 50-50, for example, if there is a different distribution of cost, and so on and so forth. And lastly, but not least, a high-level statement on the way you foresee to monitor, improve, and verify all these. So, for example, the production of the energy and the related renewable energy statistics. So, these are ideally the element that we would like to see in the cooperation, or the willingness to, or in the declaration where member states express the willingness to cooperate. And we have seen varying degrees of these elements, depending on the maturity as well of the cooperation when the project applies. So it's not hard like pass and fail type of elements listed in here, but it's to give you also more details of what could be included in such a declaration, because you might be contacted by applicants precisely with this type of questions. What should we include in such draft declaration, for example? Yeah. In the next slide, I'll go through a little bit quicker on the socioeconomic net benefit, or the so-called elements of the CBA. So this is the other main element of eligibility of the project, is to produce a cost-benefit analysis. The cost-benefit analysis is to be based on the elements listed in the Commission staff working document 2021-429, and basically there are 7 elements of to be included in the CBA. These are reflected in the CBA calculation tool, which is one of the main tools that applicants need to use for their application form and submit it via the portal, and that's also available in the call text, in the call page. This is more, let's say, a business of the applicants, because of course it's about for them to research on the potential costs and benefits of the project. It's really about quantifying what is the cost of energy, what would be the cost of connecting to the grid, what would be, on the other hand, the benefit of emission reduction, or GHG emission reduction. These are the type of elements of included in the cost-benefit analysis. And in the same cost-benefit analysis, they need to do it for the project and for the counterfactual. So the fictional project, if you like, that would take place only in the member state without the cooperation, because on this basis we need to see what is how, let's say, the benefit of the cooperation outweighs the cost, or how the cooperation brings better benefit than a project without cooperation. So now coming a little bit into the role of cross-border as the national contact point, one important aspect that also Beatrice was raising is about raise awareness of the cross-border renewable energy program. First of all, in the competent national authorities, I think that is still a little bit not sufficiently known in the various administration, and I think it would be great if you play a role of a, so to say, ambassador of the program in a way in the various national administration. And then more on, if you like, more on the practical type of part of the contact point. It's really to redirect applicants to competent national authority. Often they don't know to whom to address to for example, develop the cooperation aspect, or try to scope for the eventual interest of their member state in a potential cross-border renewable energy project. And then more in that, help facilitating the process leading to the written declaration of the country. Applicant, of course, they have their first role is to, as soon as they have a potential idea on cross-border RES project, they need to get in touch, and we encourage them to get in touch straight away with you as contact point, because the first thing is that the member state in question is aware of a potential project there, and that this awareness eventually for those who are successful in that would mature in an eventual clear support from the member state in terms of willingness to enter into a cooperation agreement on that given project. So first we really asked applicant to get in touch with you, and then if you see that this can be a project that can trigger the interest of your administration, then if you can play the role of sort of facilitating this process, that would be very helpful. Very often in the first couple of calls we had requests for support from applicants on this aspect, and that's really something that has to be done by each contact point, and we cannot do it from here from Brussels. Then in some cases, depending on the sector, there can be specific rules that are applicable in your national context that you are, of course, much more aware of us. So if there's any specific aspect that they should take into account, that given technology or that given setup is not possible or is possible, keeping in mind the legal framework of your country, then this is also very a great added value, um, for projects. I'll come maybe to the last couple of slides, and then we'll maybe have a look at the questions. So, just to give you the timeline, which is last week we have opened the call on the 7th of November. So the call is open, and actually in as we announced you via email with the communication last week, we will have also an info day specifically dedicated to this call, where we will go much more into detail. So where we will basically take more than 2 hours to explain you more in details what I just did in 15-20 minutes on the main elements. So if you are interested to participate, of course, you are very welcome to register. The deadline of this call is the 6th of February 2024. Yeah, I see a typo. It's 7 November 23, of course, the opening, so last week. And February 24 is the deadline to submit the application. Then we will have the evaluation period. We would expect a CBRS group somewhere in April. For those of you who are also part of the group, yeah, that's an important information. Of course, DG Energy will communicate more in the coming months, and then the new list has to be adopted by the Commission and enter into force. Before it enters into force, it needs to go through the so-called non-objection period. So it takes at least 2 months, this period, which is the period where the Parliament or the Council may object the list. And we would expect, all in all, to have the new list enter into force mid-October 2024. By the same time, more or less, October, November, we aim at opening the following subsequent works and study call, to which the new project eventually selected in this status quo could eventually apply for funding. So, but that's still a bit indicative. It's but to give you really the longer term perspective here. Yeah, the next slide, I think I already anticipated what I just said. So that's the and yeah, maybe the last point I didn't say is the selection of really the following works and study. It's expected for May 25, but it's still quite far in time, and we'll come back later in the process. Yeah, this is all from my side, but I see one question with linked maybe on the communicating from Katarina. In communicating with potential interested project, what type of information can be shared? The slide of this seminar or other information provided to us as national contact point by CINEA. Yeah, well, these slides are for sure it's not a problem. There are a couple of slides more on your specifically on your role, so that's a little bit up to you. It's more of internal, but this slide and much more will be available to all applicants in the material of the info day. So this definitely you can share. You can even, if you can, relay the message and forward the information about the info day in national channels, your website or any social media. And in any case, the info day is always recorded, and we always store the PowerPoint and all the material online in our website. So this can be certainly shared, and it contains basically what we have presented to you today, but actually much more, because we really go into the details, the forms, what are the documents, how to submit your proposal, how to use. We have also a little demo also of the platform that they will have to use it to submit online their application, and so on and so forth. Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Katarina. And if there's any other question, don't hesitate to write it in the chat, and maybe we simply go ahead with the second part. And as it goes, please continue writing your question, and we will have anyhow a Q&A after the second presentation from Teresa. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Gianluca, and good afternoon to everyone. In my presentation, I will guide you through the studies and works call for CBRES project. It's a second call. We already had one first call, and I will tell you more about the timeline and all those information in a couple of minutes. But I would start with some key policy aspects to be reflected. So the CBRES studies and works call will be open to the projects that are that have received the status as CBRES project. And as you have seen in the beginning of the presentation, those will be 5 projects. So those 5 projects that you've seen will be eligible to apply for the CBRES studies and works call. And since we are the instrument program for cross-border renewable energy, the focus that needs to be clearly set is on renewable generation as main objective also of this second CBRES works and studies call. But you have also seen that a CBRES project that can enter the list can also contain RES components, but also some non-RES components under certain conditions. Gianluca already covered this a bit more in detail in his presentation, but that's why we also have a different approach between RES and non-RES components. So for studies applications, the differentiation between RES and non-RES components is not relevant. What's relevant here is this project as a whole approach. But when it comes to works application, we have a clear priority for the RES components of a proposal, and also the non-RES components need to be in line with stipulations of, for once, the CEF regulation, but in particular the Article 3 of the delegated regulation. And what's also very important is that there are no overlaps between CBRES, our program, and then the 10E and the CEF funding for projects of common interest. And we will see more here. So what is the conclusion of that? A scope of an action can be manifold, can be several. It can be for once be focused on the RES generation aspect. It can as well be including non-RES components, provided that they comply with Article 3 of the Delegated Act. and it can also, an action can also include both the WES generation and non-WES components, and including integration aspects. But as I've said before, what we have included also in the call is that there's a clear priority for the WES components of a proposal. So here's some examples for possible study scopes. That could be, for example, a feasibility study aimed at collecting the necessary data needed to choose the best WES technologies according to the project's need. It could be also a technical study requested to obtain the construction permits for WES and non-WES components. It could be also an environmental impact assessment, either for the overall CBRS project or part of it, since an application can cover either the whole CBRS project. That depends a little bit on the project, but it can also cover parts of it. It could also be a study application first and then a works application for a later call, for example. And then what we call studies with physical interventions could be an on-site study, for example, seabed study, or a feed study. On the next slide, we see some examples for possible work scopes. That's for one, the WES components, and then it could also be, and now we're coming to the non-WES components, could be a transmission facility which is necessary to connect the WES components. It could also be a storage and conversion facilities necessary for the WES components. But here it applies again what we've said before, that those need to be really in the limits and in line with what the delegated act allows for non-WES components. Coming to the timeline, we have published the call on the 18th of October, and we are going to open the call officially on the 19th of December in the end of this year. So basically in a month of time. Why is there this difference between the publication and the opening? That's to the fact that we are at the moment in the non-objection period for the two new status projects. So we are waiting basically for this non-objection period to be open until to be over, so that we can officially open the call for studies and works for CBRS, because then all the 5 projects, as I said before, will be eligible to apply. And yesterday we had the info day, which we organized for the eligible projects, and that was yesterday. And there was also a recording available, because since one of the participants already asked, so we can also afterwards share with you the web page where the recording is available, and also the presentations from yesterday's info day, that you also have this information available. The call deadline will be on the 6th of February next year. And then we are expecting the evaluation period to end in April. The CEF Coordination Committee will take place in May 24. And then right afterwards, depending when it is exactly, we are going to launch the so-called grant agreement preparation with the projects of whom the proposals were selected for funding. And we are expecting the grant agreement signature in approximately September 24. And part of the grant agreement preparation is also that we are telling the project that they should keep the member state contacts informed. That's also over the period of implementing the grant, that yeah, the project promoters, well, basically the beneficiaries later, will be yeah, keeping the member state contacts regularly be informed about the progress of the implementation of the action. Now to the eligibility of participants, the applicants, beneficiaries and affiliated entities must be legal entities, so either public or private bodies, and they need to be established in one of the eligible countries. So you've seen already the 5 projects currently who are having the status. So the member states that you've seen there as part of the project are also the ones that are currently can be expected to be in touch or being contacted by those projects. Next slide, please. Here is just for your overview what applicants would need to be provided as part of their application, and where you as member state contacts for CBRS would come into play. So the checklist overall for studies and works proposals is quite long. We have application forms, part A and part B. We have a budget table, a Gantt chart, environmental compliance for annual activity report, list of previous projects. But foremost for all applications that be handed in, there needs to be an agreement by the concerned member states, so the so-called letter of support. And this is a very important fact where you as member state contacts potentially come into play, where your role is very crucial. Next slide. Additionally, for works proposals, applicants need to provide an additional set of documents. That's for once an updated full cost-benefit analysis, as well as a business plan. But also, and here again, you come into play, it's a fully fledged signed cooperation agreement that needs to be handed in as part of the application. Coming into details a bit more on the agreement by the concerned member states, the so-called letter of support. This one is signed by the ministries in charge of implementing the cooperation agreement or the future cooperation agreement, and the member state concerned is a member state in the territory of which the proposed project is planned to be implemented. In case of studies where there's no physical intervention, it's first not so straightforward. That's why we're having here more information on that. In that case, it's a member state of the country where the applicant is established. And I think we have also the case of projects in associated countries. Here, the letter of support needs to be signed by the competent authorities of the associated country, as well as the neighboring member state. And here as well, we wanted to focus on what your role as CBRS national contact points is. Again, same as for the status call before, it would be great if you could raise awareness of the CBRS program in your competent national authorities. You could your role is also very crucial in assisting the applicants to obtain the member state letter of support or liaise with competent national authorities. and then again assist applicants with any rules and procedures that are specific to your national context. Here, just some a slide where you can find further information that would be for once the CINEA CBRS page where you find more information about our program in general. Then you will also find the CBRS status call page, and in the funding and tender portal you find the works call and the studies call, which are currently published and which will officially be opened in the end of December. And there you find all informations about the call documents, but also templates and more information that would be helpful then for future applicants.
Thank you, Teresa. We will anyhow send you the slide via email as a follow-up, together with the links to the open calls and where you can find the information. But we can now open also. We are even ahead of schedule, so we have time for questions if you have any questions. So you can either write them in the chat or simply raise your hand and open the mic. So the floor is to you if you have questions, and otherwise we will close it earlier. Maybe one practical aspect as well to share is that via the exchanges we had for the organization of the seminar, we have updated also the list of contact points, and we will share an updated list via email as well. So in case you find any outdated contacts there or missing ones, please notify to us so that we can have the latest version of the CBRS contact point list in the website. This is also a reminder for everyone. It's indeed we keep it publicly in the program web page, and we promote it at each round of info days. So we will come back to you also regularly to verify also any updates in the contact point network, so to say. I see no question. Yeah, there is a question. For the letter of support, if there is a template. So yeah, well, for the works and studies call, there is a model which is also obligatory template to be used. So whenever project they apply for grants, so once they have received a status, yes, there is a template. It's a mandatory template from the program. It's a simple template where they have to indicate the identification of the project, and a member state can indeed use it to express their support to the proposed action. What is important is that it's clearly stated that the member state supports the action in question. So yes, there's a template for that. There is also a template for the declaration of member state willing to enter into a future cooperation agreement, but the difference is that this template that is provided on status level, it's not a mandatory one, it's just for courtesy version. Yeah, so in the funding and tender portal, indeed it's already available. When you go to the portal, you will see that this call is marked so the works and study call is marked as forthcoming, meaning that it's not officially opened yet. It's published though, so everything is already available, application form, any templates, and of course the call text, and will open officially for submission later on in December, as soon as the new list with the 5 projects will enter into force. So it still need to be published in the official journal. For this, we need to wait, the Commission needs to wait for the end of the non-objection period. And once it enters into force, we will open officially the call. So what it's very important to also keep in mind is this distinction. So when it's about status call, so projects that do not have the status, the main channel is to go to the CINEA website CBRS page, and there is a page for each of the call and a link to the submission portal. For the works and study, it's the usual what we call e-grant or funding and tender portal. So the commission portal for grants. So these are 2 separate processes and very different ones. So a question about not supporting the project. What if a member state does not support the project, or either that does not sign, or is there an option yes or no in the letter of support? I mean, the letter of support, it's a Word document, because you will need to be able to type it in. Either way, I would say, I mean, if we don't see a letter of support, it's implicitly a lack of support. Now, usually, we haven't got so many projects, but we don't see a letter signed by the ministry stating that they do not support the project. It can be done, but it reverts to saying that there is no support, and not providing the letter it's basically the same. Okay, thank you, Antonio. Well noted. So we will update. Also, we have updated, I think, our contact point for Portugal as well. So whenever you have any new colleagues working for CBS content, please notify to us, and we will immediately update also the list. Any further question, please don't hesitate to do it via the chat, or you can also raise your hand if you prefer to speak. In the meantime, Teresa and Beatrice are posting links, so you can directly click on it, and you will end up in the funding and tender portal page and the various templates. Maybe in this framework, one interesting thing we can actually share, and we can do it also via email as a follow-up. We have produced a communication toolkit about the program, where you have the main facts about the program. This also, you can use it for internal communication. If anyone, for example, in your administration is asking you basic information about the program, so this can be also helpful for you to communicate on the program. So we can also share it with you. Okay, what do you think? Maybe on the last questions, if you have any, just to recall, so the next steps, you can register if you like to the info day on the 24th. And then the future deadline, so it's 6th of February, in case applicants get in touch with you for both goals. Either they already have the status and they intend to submit a grant proposal for studies and works, or study or works, one or more proposals. They will most probably get in touch with you or any of your colleagues to receive a letter of support. This is the deadline is on the 6th of February. The second deadline is the same on the 6th of February, but it's for projects who are not yet CBRS projects, so not yet they do not have the status yet. And in this case, the type of support might be more, so to say, fundamental in getting or exploring the possibility that your administration is interested in eventually entering into a future cooperation agreement. So this may take a little bit more work to prepare the ground and be ready for the status. The deadline is the same, but the call is already open, so project can already work on their application as from last week. I see no other question or request for taking the floor. Beatrice, do you want to conclude anything on your side?
Well, perhaps just a last remark. So we hope that this short seminar we organized was helpful to make you more aware of the cross-border RES window or sector in Connecting Europe facility, and that we hope also that it was useful in terms of providing you with tools and information where you will be able to disseminate further about the program. We rely on you, we count on you, also as an interface between the applicants and, as discussed, between the applicants, let's say, and the appropriate level at the ministry or at, let's say, any competent authority to facilitate the process of communication, and both informal but also formal between the applicant, let's say, and to get them, let's say, to the final signature. So all in all, we hope we raise awareness of the program, the requirements, the challenges, and and the potential. And last but not least, let me say that, of course, we will close also this by following up with some additional information to you. But also, please don't hesitate at your side if you want to reach out to us on an informal basis concerning, a potential project or a cooperation idea, or let's say of a cooperation between your member state and another member state or more member states. We are, of course, always available, in particular when we don't have a call open. Where we are not very much entitled to share information that go beyond a bit of fair competition and equal treatment. But in general, our door, our email is open. So also, if you want to reach out on an informal basis to us, even on an exploratory mode, so to say, we let's say, our team in CINEA we are always, let's say, very, very happy to help to enter into a discussion with you. So that's the last message. I don't know if we have anything more to say from operational point of view, but we look forward to seeing you on the info day if you want to stay with us. And yes, let's keep in touch. Thank you.
Many thanks.
Thank you very much.